I can share if you.
Oh yeah, I started the recording, so now you can show the cookies, Johan.
Yeah, you're my mom's cookies. So yeah.
We need to make sure that well, thank you. We thank your mom. Okay. Well, now you don't have to rub it in and eat them in front of us, Johan. Okay. Can you wait half an hour?
No, no, it's cookies. You have to accept cookies. Otherwise, you can.
Oh, I have no problem accepting cookies. Okay. Some people may join a little later. Um, welcome to our Bitol winter party. Oh my God, Gene, you've got the thing between Atanas and you. You guys are just great. Um, I've lost. I had my little bear. Uh, that's my contribution. I'm not as festive as you guys are. So let's get in that because we want to have the demos and we don't really care about me talking, right? Especially as I'm sick. Okay. So, hey, my name is Jean-Georges Perrin. I go by JGP often. I'm privileged to be the chair of the Bitol project at the Linux Foundation. And I've been re-elected to this position for 2025. So thanks, guys, for your trust. And so what we do is we try to define open standards for data engineering. Okay, so it's not only about data contracts. It's about plenty of other stuff that we're trying to work on. Of course, right now our main standard is the Open Data Contract Standard, ODCS. So as a reminder, a data contract is creating a link between a data producer and one-to-many data consumers. It also creates a link between the logical representation of the data and its physical implementation. Okay, so it's really a link between business and technology at this point. It also describes metadata. Okay, so for me, it's not a typo. We all know what metadata is. Okay, it's schema, it's column names, it's field type, etc. But what is even more important is the metadata in some way. It's a rule, it's the data quality rules, the behavior, and soon the business rules. So when we combine all these things, what we're trying to achieve here is that the data contract is the source of truth for your metadata. Okay, people are concerned about the source of truth for the data. Here we have the source of truth for our metadata. Um, I love this quote from my friend David Brunstetter at Lidl e-commerce. Uh, is comparing data contracts with tax returns. In a way, that the thing is, nobody likes to do tax returns, but here in the US, when you do your tax returns, what happens is you often get money back. Okay, so so here it's a little bit like that. You get the benefits. You've got a lot of benefits after a little bit of a painful journey. But the outcome for little is data contracts form the foundation of a living data ownership culture. And to be honest, a lot of companies I've talked to are really highly motivated by that. ODCS is a very popular standard. We have the way we measure popularity of a project is unfortunately by the number of stars. And for a standard, which is a rather boring thing, having 410 stars is pretty amazing. For a software project, it can go quicker and higher as well. So, but the thing is, when we took over from PayPal, I think the big thing is a number of contributors. So basically, you guys that have joined this effort through Slack and now are actually doing all these things with us. Okay, so there's 38 people around the world. That's pretty that's uh that's uh that's pretty amazing. Um as a, If we just quickly look, f- 1 year in, okay, when we started with the Linux Foundation, that was September 2023, we had 39 stars, and in September of 2024, we have 313, and now in December we have 100 more than that. Okay, so that just in 1 year and a few extra months, you see how much we grew in popularity. That's for me, that's great. since since the beginning, a very important thing for me was the governance. How do we plan to have the governance of this project? So at the top of the pyramid, I would say, we have the technical steering committee. So that's currently 13 voting members from 12 different companies. Yes, we do have two people from the same company. And That's allowed. And we are, as you can see by the countries and the type of companies, we are pretty well represented. One thing that I was really kind of pretty proud of keeping is you see the three companies as consulting, five as vendors, and five as users. I wanted to keep within the TSC this balance of trying to have the right mix of consultants, software vendors, and users. Okay, so that was something that was really important to me. Then you've got the second circle, which is a working group, which I already mentioned, and the active users in the community, which is 117 people that are subscribed to our Slack channel. So to tell you a little bit about what's going in front of us and what we're working on, that should read actually 2025 and beyond. Of course, there's a disclaimer. So what I wanted to highlight there is when we joined the community, we had ODCS version 2. Okay. This year we achieved our phase 2, which is ODCS version 3. And in 2025, we're really having ODPS, and of course the evolution of ODCS and probably more things. So now, as ODCS, okay, that's the evolution for the last year now. And you see that we are, since October, we released version 3 of ODCS. We made some progress in the environment, in the types, as the way we define data types. We've got a new data schema structure, which is really appropriate for relational, non-relational, and unstructured data. We did a lot of cleanup. There was still some stuff that was coming from PayPal. We redefined the support mechanism, so that people, it's very flexible and adapts to every kind of situation we've seen so far. And we also have a lot of work on the data quality to make it more understandable and easy to use. What's next for us is business rules, having also some standard data quality rules, external reference, and lineage as well. So lineage is probably going to come along with the data product part as well. And speaking of the data product, the way we are picturing the data product is we are having an assembly of data contract with a software bill of material inside, an SBOM. And I know a few people that are working. There is a few people that are working on ODPS right now, and it looks like it's going to be very, very encouraging as well, and adopted by some leaders in the industry. What I also realized during 2024 is that we were thinking about data mesh as the enterprise data mesh. And that's actually not always true. I've seen implementation of departmental data mesh. So, for example, for security, so CISOs, some of them want to have all the data for them, and they are looking at combining all these things together into a data mesh. And that makes sense to have then some things that will define a data mesh as a standard as well. So that's all design phase. We also work on two standards for active metadata, which is ORS. ORS is really the Open Observability Results standard, and it's going to be a simplified version of OpenTelemetry. Uh, See it as a simplified version of OpenTelemetry, and also OOCS, which is the orchestration control. Okay, so that we have a standard way to control the different equipment, software equipment, on in our infrastructure. So that's our ambition for 2025. Uh, but let's have just a little bit of a look at what we have highlighted in 2024. So in 2024, we participated in more than 20 conferences in Europe, the US, and Asia. There was more than 10 articles published. We reference them on our GitHub. So if you are writing articles, you can make a pull request. And so we make sure that your articles are going to be part of that. There's 4 books. I admit that I was involved in 4 of them, but the 4 of them are actually talking about Bitol and giving example of ODCS and ODPS. Um, the more technical one is implementing data mesh, as you can imagine. The other ones are more playful. Um, we did a little bit of YouTube, not too much. That's probably something we need to develop in 2025. And we also worked very closely with the Linux Nation communications team. That's because they help us relay information and they help us with their resources as well. In terms of highlights, really, we have evolved from sandbox. When we join a project in the Linux Foundation, you are a sandbox level, and we managed to raise to incubation. Okay, so that's a pretty major milestone. The next milestone is graduated, which it would be great to be there in 2025. We'll see how that goes. And of course, ODCS version 3 is a major evolution. We have hundreds of volunteer hours, which I am extremely grateful to make to contribute and make sure that this was actually a success, and we see the success already panning out right now. I just wanted to conclude. So for me, open standards are even more important than open source lately, and we'll talk more about this. But we had a software company having a commercial license, private source that was adopting our standard, and I think that's kind of for me of the future of open standards. It's really adopted by open source company and also closed source companies with specific license. So open standards are, for me, even more important than open source. And I love open source. Okay, so don't get me wrong about that part. Um, my personal key takeaway is it's harder to run this organization is much harder than one would think. Uh, it's I'm extremely proud of the team and what we've been able to achieve. It's passionate people. It's really smart people. It's people that are bringing something that are really into it. So I would like really to thank the volunteers for the commitment, help, and just love of the project and passion about what we just built. Okay, so thank you very much, and as a chair of the TSE, once more, I would like to thanks everybody. We will now switch to demos, and then Atanas will do a Q&A session after the demos. So, Johan or Peter, who is starting? I don't remember.
Sure. Did we have a schedule already? Not sure. I could start if you want to.
Let's
Yeah, you can start, Johan.
Yeah, okay.
let's go. Okay, so let me stop sharing my screen.
Start sharing my screen. So I want to talk a little bit about an open source tool which we maintain to use actually data contracts. And the idea is we want to basically use the data contract YAMLs, the ODCS YAMLs, and test that the data products on our data platforms are compliant to the data contract specification with also schema and quality attributes in it. So we have on GitHub an open source tool called Data Contract CLI, which is also kind of popular now, and we added native support for ODCS this year, basically. So the main feature is to basically use a YAML and test data contracts. There are some more features like importing a ODCS from existing data sources or generate code based on the YAML file or to publish metadata to some metadata platforms. So the software is written in Python. It's a Python library, and it's also available as a CLI tool, as the tool name implies. So let's have a quick demo on it, and I want to go here. So let's start with a data contract, and let's make it a little bit bigger here. Hope you can see my screen well. I can make it even more bigger. So I started here with a data contract, the data contract about orders, so having the latest orders, basically, and coming from sales. It's an active data contract. Here's description, and at the core of our data contract, we have the table structure with the order and the properties, which in this case are the columns, right? So we have an order ID. We have, it's a string. It's not nullable. It's unique, and it's a restricted field. We have an example here, so it looks like an UUID. And we have some more attributes like order timestamp, order total, and even more. And with SLA attributes, we have support information. So how can I reach out to the team responsible and owning the data contract? But at the bottom, we also have servers. Servers is a new attribute in ODCS version 3, and it basically points to the BigQuery database with specifying the BigQuery project and its data set. Oh, let me see if we can. Yeah, so basically it's referring to a BigQuery data set here, and we see here's one table in it called orders, as we have it seen in the data contract, and there are some data in it. It's some sample data here. It should match with our data contract. Now let's look how we can use a tool. And the tool basically works like this. We have a data contract CLI command, and we can say, let's test OD order ODCS.YAML, which is our data contract. So the tool now looks at the YAML, connects to the server in BigQuery, and derives quality tests for all the schema and quality attributes in here. So currently we see it checks that all fields are present, all fields have the correct type. Yeah, and that's basically it. So let's make it a little bit more complex. So let's add, for example, some quality attributes, which is also new to ODCS version 3. So what we can do, and I prepared a version 2 here of our data contract, is we can extend it and specify quality attributes like on the column order total. And here I prepared a quality attribute for which is executable, right? So we have a business quality rule saying here, well, from a business point of view, we expect that all order values are expected to be 10 and 4.99 euro. And we expect that that's true for 95% of all entries in our table. So now if we run this version 2, let's see what happens. So I would expect a new data quality check here. And oh, it's failed. Why is it failed? Well, actually, it's failed because the data says that's not true. It's basically, well, the average is 50.32 and it not 95%, right? So if you look at our data once again, and look at the order total here, we see in the sample generated order data that, yeah, well, the average is around 50,000 cents. So let's change it. For example, so let's change our quality attribute here and hopes this is true now, or we could change the data to make the test pass. What we also have is we also have a quality attribute on the model level, for example, to check if the row count is in the expected range. So we have a quality attribute here, which would fail if the data set, for example, when a data pipeline fails and produces too few table entries in our table, right? So maybe let's check this here as well. So if we change it to a value which would fail, we get a warning from the data contract CLI and I get an information that the quality is not correct. So we can use this data contract testing in our data pipelines or deployment pipelines to make sure that our data products have the quality that is promised in the data contract specification, right? And maybe another feature is we can also use the data contract metadata to generate code from the YAML specification. So let's, in the simple case, use an export to SQL. So we can generate a SQL DDL statement here, create table statement here, which we can use, or data engineers can use, to create a table that matches the schema as defined in the data contract. And we don't only have SQL, we have really a lot of other formats as well. And so we can, for example, generate code with for DBT. We can use Avro code. We can use it in Terraform. We can use SQL queries, and we can export to a format called data caterer, which I show you in a bit. And here we see data caterer format, which we can use as an output for data contract export. And data caterer is a tool which now Peter will talk a little bit about.
Thanks a lot for that, Johan. It's a good segue to fall into, but
so, yeah. Okay, so let me unshare my screen again. Cannot. Where is my Zoom? Yes, Zoom. Okay, yeah, so let's hand over to Peter.
Great. Hopefully you can see my screen. But yeah, I think I'll give you a quick kind of demo and update on, what Data Caterer is. So my name is Peter. I'm the founder of Data Caterer. It's an open source tool that is focused on generating and validating your test environments. So what's actually going on here and what is it related with data contracts? So as JGP mentioned earlier, data contracts are kind of a neat standardized format of metadata. So that metadata kind of exists today all over the place. There's data catalogs, there's data quality tools, there's all sorts of places that contain this metadata, but no one's really using it. So Data Caterer is a tool that leverages this metadata to then generate test data that you can then test against your data pipelines, whether it's through messages, databases, file systems, APIs, and then validating that your data pipeline has actually ingested that data as it should in production. So yeah. So I'll quickly take you through a demo. So we have kind of the data contract that everyone should very much know by now. So most of the information here is actually kind of ignored by Data Caterer actually, because the kind of juicy information that Data Caterer cares about is the schema. So within the schema here, we can find all sorts of kind of meaty information where we know exactly what the data should look like and how we can generate data based off this metadata. So you can see here we've got some date and some other fields as well. So today I'll show you how you can interact with Data Caterer through coding. So here is kind of the Scala interface. You can use Java as well. If you're not comfortable with coding, there's also a YAML interface, and there's also a UI as well. But today I'll just show you through code. So when you're generating data, you just define your data source. So in this case, I'm just going to keep it simple and create a CSV file at a certain directory. And our schema will actually be derived from this metadata source, which is based on the open data contract standard. So here, it will gather all those schema information and use that to generate data. If we're not quite so happy with that data set, we can then actually provide manual overrides as well to help guide how that data gets generated further. So we might see here that this country code actually should follow the actual values of a country code, or the ID follows a particular regex. So these bits of information can also be included as part of your data contract that then can be extracted out. But it also provides the opportunity as a developer that you might want to quickly test out something. Maybe I want to test out, a scenario where status can maybe be open and closed, and maybe a third option as well. And then here, we're just going to generate 100 records just to show, what's happening. So let me just quickly run it here. So right now, I'm kind of behind the scenes. How it's getting run is it gets packaged up via Docker, and hopefully it should finish soon. Yeah, it should kind of output some CSV file over here. So you can see kind of some dummy data that you can then pass to your data pipeline and test it out and see how it works. So an additional part is you can actually define validations, where your validation can be based on a column. So you might say, hey, my column status should be, contains, a particular phrase, or could be less than or greater than. Pretty much the same kind of validations that you're used to finding and whatnot. But here I'm just we've just done a simple generation task. So an additional kind of feature that the metadata can include is stuff about relationships. So maybe you're using data contracts, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're not at that stage yet. So I'll show you an example where you might just have a Postgres instance where you have some tables and some foreign keys set up. So I won't take you through all the tables. But here, I'll just run the task in the background. Here we can just define our Postgres connection, which is in my Docker. And we're going to say that, hey, within my Postgres, actually account number, wherever you find account number, actually follows this regex pattern. So that, I maintain that same kind of, organization-wide kind of definition of what an account number is. And here is us just defining some Boolean values to configure the run. So if I just go across into
Sorry,
here.
Peter, can I interrupt you? I'm not seeing you sharing at the moment.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
I can see your screen.
I can see Atanas.
Yes.
I can see Peter's screen as well.
Oh,
I can as well.
okay. Let me continue, and maybe Thomas has some issue. But yeah, like here, you can see that there was 1,000 records generated, and there's a corresponding balances as well. And so the relationships between, I guess I'll make it quick, but there's relationships between each of these tables that get maintained as the data gets generated. Sorry. That make it, production-like. Because if you don't have those relationships maintained, your data pipelines will fail, or it's not actually being realistic against, what should happen in production. So once you finish generating your data, you should also clean it up, because one of the major pains is that you're going to have test environments full of everyone's data sets, competing against each other. So at the end of the day, you want to clean up your test environments based on that data that you've generated, but you want to retain the data that might have existed there already, because other people also might be testing in that environment. So you can see here, before we had, an account already included in the table, and we just got rid of the data that was generated. So yeah, I think I'll close off the demo here. Otherwise, I'll keep talking for the rest of the night. So I'll hand it back over to you, JGP.
Thank you. It's actually Atanas is going to do Q&A, and
Okay.
but fantastic demo, both of you guys. I think I see some eyes that are actually shining for the people that are not shy and put their self on the camera, which is great. I know some of you were a little bit unbeliever, but they're starting to believe. Anyway, so guys, fire the questions.
So, we have two questions at the moment. The first one is from our close friend and colleague Ralph Rober, and he's asking, is there a list of companies, governments, organizations that have adopted, implemented open data contract standard? Maybe Simon and Johan, as they are more close related with companies and some business models, can tell us more about it, how our business clients reacting on data contract and how they see the whole picture in the next few months, years, and so on. Where I want to start.
So we unfortunately we cannot share names due to NDAs, basically. But whenever we talk about data contracts and say, oh, there is a Linux Foundation standard available, you start talking, right? So people are interested in defining their data sets under a formalized standard, and it really helps to have a common standard, which has a bright governance body under Linux Foundations. This really, really helps to drive the this metadata or metadata thing further. So yeah, there really is some adoption coming, and it's getting more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Simon.
Just wanted to point out, when you look at all the companies that contribute to the data contract CLI that Jochen showed, which is kind of the Swiss Army knife, so to say, of everything you can do with the data contract, and you just look at the commit emails, you can get a hint of the glimpse of what companies are working with it. And it's very interesting. So some big names are there as well.
Yeah, I never used my professional email on things like that for exactly this reason.
Yeah.
But what we can say is there's a lot of interest. When you were saying, Alpha, about government organization, I don't have government organization in the portfolio of people I talk to. It's mainly private companies. But well, obviously this German supermarket chain is really interested into it. Okay, we have one of their um, uh, data governance person on the TSC, and there's definitely a lot more. I really wish I would have even used, like a success stories with some people. I think this is coming. Okay, there's really a bundle of things that are, users, consulting, software vendors, and I think this is where the perfect situation is being built right now. So.
Okay, thank you. I see another question for, sorry if I not pronounce it right, Stefan Heckel. And it is, what is the level of data quality, as I read it, complexity we can manage with the command line interface tool? I have seen greater than, what else? I suppose that's a question to Jochen.
Yeah, okay. A great question, actually. Well, basically, what's quite common in data engineering is that whatever you can express using SQL code is something you can test as a data quality. And you can do it by filtering on failed results and make sure that the result is 0. Basically, so you have the full power of SQL, everything that you can express with SQL to define the data quality you can express with data quality rules here. And maybe one more thing that's coming for ODCS 3.1 is we want to define some commonly used rules for data quality, like non-null, like freshness, or like required fields. So users don't have to write the SQL code, but it's defined by the standard what to express. Yeah, hope this answers your question here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have also one question from Julia, which is, of course, our close friend and colleague also. And she asks, is this a Christmas party? I'm not sure why she asks that, but JGP, can you please give us
So,
some
so,
clues?
so, I get the smart ass questions. Okay. And of course, the questions from my sister. Yeah, Julia. So we, we cannot call it a Christmas party. We are very inclusive, so that's why it's our winter solstice or winter party. Okay, so that's it. But if you celebrate Christmas, feel free to consider it your Christmas party. If you celebrate Hanukkah, then it's your Hanukkah party. Okay, or whatever you're celebrating at this time of the year. So that is. But I'd like to adjust something on the data quality rules for Stefan, because I know that Stefan is actually a very annoying person when he wants to. What we have decided is that the data quality rules are within the scope of one contract. It cannot at this stage refer to another contract. Okay, so you cannot say, okay, I'm basing my analysis of data quality rules based on multiple contracts or something. That is not supported. And Tom Byans from Soda, who was on our TSC for some time, advised us to not do that because it's too complex. Okay, so that was to just to extend on the question a little bit on the answer.
Maybe to add to that, what you can do is basically just define using natural language and still stating that you do that internally, but it's not executable, but you can still signal the consumer in your contract, like the producer can signal, hey, we do all these other checks, we just describe them using natural language and just say, for FYI, we guarantee that as well. So this is kind of the middle ground.
Thanks. As we are approaching our last minutes, and I have a question to Jean-Georges, to Peter and Johan and Simon also. Just can you please give your vision about data products for the next year, let me say that, not for the next few months, but how, from your point of view, this market is going to move or change? Your vision, please.
So for me, data engineering, or this phase of data engineering, is almost ideally represented by data mesh. But data mesh is a very complex goal for a lot of enterprise to reach. And there's pragmatic goals before that, like data contracts and data products. So we're already seeing right now the benefits of data contracts. And so I think that for 2025, the more distribution of data products and creation of data product ecosystems or managers or whatever are going to be more interesting, and it's all revealed in this little book there. So which I would highly recommend for everybody to get. And half of the profits are going to charity, so it's a good thing you buy it. So.
Okay, so I'm not sure if Johan could show another demo right now or maybe in future, because I saw that in the chat. I'm not sure what he meant with this.
If you want, I could show a natural language to data quality SQL code
We
demo.
we can't do that.
Yeah.
We're running out of time now. But
Oh,
but I think that Stefan is working on something as an event sometimes in early 2025, where we will have the opportunity to do all these things. And so that's a kind of a rendezvous for our next time together. So
Yes, good idea. And I will do it.
Okay, so I'm not twisting your arm really. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining our winter Christmas Hanukkah party. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's not like we drank like French people or we we celebrated like crazy, but at least we it was a great time to showcase what we did over the year, and to be really extremely proud of this team that has been, working their butt off to achieve what we've been doing in 2024. So thanks everybody. uh stay connected, and we will definitely have a lot more exciting stuff coming for 2025. And ask your questions in Slack, okay? So we'll if you have more, okay? So bye guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.